Hi, this is Mr. Capert. In this video, I'm going to introduce you guys to Google Sheets, which is a spreadsheet program used for organizing and analyzing and storing data. Microsoft Excel is the version used by professionals. We're using Google Sheets because it's free, cloud-based, a little bit easier to use, but not as powerful as Microsoft Excel. Spreadsheets are used in almost every career: accountants and sales managers and secretaries and scientists and engineers and financial analysts. And this is an example to the right here of a table that I created in Microsoft Excel. This year we're using Google Sheets instead. Now, the benefits of using a spreadsheet program are you can analyze huge amounts of data, you can perform thousands of calculations rather than doing it by hand. It's much easier to create graphs than it would be by hand, and it makes it easy to analyze data. You can create all sorts of different graphs and charts, bar graphs for instance. Now I'm going to go to the first problem here that you guys have, problem number 4, the first Google Sheet I'm going to have you guys make. Now the first thing you always want to do when using a spreadsheet to calculate a value for you is to solve the first problem by hand. That's to double check to make sure that you put the code into Google Sheets correctly and didn't make an error. So in this problem number 4, I'm asking you to solve for the mass given the weight of an object. Yes, this would be very easy to do by hand. Probably easier than creating a Google Sheet like we're going to here today, but I wanted to start with a very simple example of what you can do using this application. So first step, solve one by hand. We know that weight, force, equals the mass times the acceleration. In this case, we're talking about weight, so it's gravity is your acceleration. 9.8 meters per second squared. How dare I? I did not put the units here. That's very bad. So if you use a little bit of algebra, you'll find that your mass equals your force or your weight divided by 9.8 meters per second squared. So for problem 4 here, my mass equals 13 newtons divided by the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. You get 1.33 kilograms. And hopefully that's what I get when I create my table here in Google Sheets. To create a table, you first need to start a sheet. So go into your drive. I would use a computer rather than your iPad. I'm not sure that the iPad has all the same features. New sheet. Let it load. And then what you want to do is first start putting your data in. So I gave you this table that has force in newtons. That's why it has the N. And then hit the down button or enter. It doesn't matter where you start. I always start in this cell B2. I don't know. I just like starting there, having a little space. 13 down or hit the enter key. Doesn't matter which one. 28. Enter. 51, enter. 117, enter. 139, enter. So this is like you were recording some data. Now in this column, this is where I want the mass in kilograms to be. I like to do a couple formatting things here. Highlight this entire area, and you can change up, for instance, I want this all centered. I would like it to be 12, a little bit bigger, kind of up to you. You can change the font. Another thing that's real important though is that you put borders on here. All borders. All right, so there you go. A lot of times too, I'll color this in, I'll highlight this in. You don't have to do that. Now here's the fun part. This is where you are going to do some coding. Don't be scared. It's not real legit coding. It's some easy stuff here. So if you remember from my example problem when I did this by hand, that it equals force divided by 9.8. This mass is force divided by 9.8 meters per second squared. So I'm going to click on my first cell here. I'm going to say this cell is equal. Hit the equal sign. Force, I'm going to touch this force because this is the one that goes with this mass. Boom. I'm going to divide that. Use that backslash. Divide that by 9.8. Enter. Boom. We got the same thing as we did it by hand. Good. So I know I entered my code correctly. Then what you want to do is select on this corner, lower right corner, click and drag, and it solves a bunch of them. So this is what's really nice about this, is if you had a teacher tell you to solve like tons and, uh-oh, I got a little crazy there. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, if they told you to solve a ton of problems, like thousands of problems, you don't have to do this, but they told you to solve tons of problems, then you just click and drag down. Boom. And it calculates all of them for you. So you really only have to do one problem, and then it does the rest for you. All right, hope this helps. The next video, I'm going to show you how to graph all this data.